The NBA offseason was already heating up, but the latest developments surrounding Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers have taken things to an entirely different level. What started off as speculation and rumors has now evolved into a full-blown scandal that could shake the foundation of one of the league's most high-profile franchises. The deeper you dig, the more you realize this isn't just a story about a player and his team. It's about power, influence, backdoor dealings, and a potential cover-up that could explode into one of the biggest punishments the NBA has handed down in years. Let's get right into it, because the Clippers situation is getting messier by the day. According to reports that dropped recently, the NBA is holding off on making a ruling on the Clippers and Kawhi until after the All-Star break, which, if you've been following the league closely, isn't just the halfway point of the season. It's already deep into the stretch run. By that point, we're nearly two-thirds of the way through the regular season. And here's the twist that's got conspiracy theorists rubbing their hands together. This season's All-Star game is being held at none other than the brand-new Intuit Dome, the home arena of the Clippers. You don't have to wear a tinfoil hat to start questioning the timing. Why is the NBA waiting until then? Are they trying to avoid bad press before the big All-Star showcase? Are they buying time to craft a punishment that doesn't completely tank the Clippers season but still send a message? There's no way to know for sure, but what we do know is that the evidence piling up is damning. Journalist Pablo Torre has essentially done all the legwork for the league. Across multiple podcasts and investigations, he's brought forward text messages, financial documents, and on-the-record interviews that point to an organized effort to funnel millions of dollars to Kawhi Leonard through a shell company. And that's not an exaggeration. We're talking over $115 million being dumped into this shady company, all with the goal of making sure Kawhi received an extra $7 million per year for 4 years, on top of his regular contract. That's nearly $30 million in under-the-table payments, not to mention $20 million in stock options. The man behind this? Clippers owner Steve Ballmer, who reportedly kept injecting cash into this failing company just to keep the money flowing to Kawhi. What's even more shocking is that there are text messages from Uncle Dennis. Yes, that Uncle Dennis, Kawhi's infamous uncle and de facto negotiator, directly communicating with executives about these payments. Now, if you're new to the saga of Uncle Dennis, here's a quick refresher. This isn't just a meddling family member. Over the years, he's asked teams for private planes, partial team ownership, and all sorts of wild perks during free agency negotiations. So the idea that he'd be involved in something like this? Honestly, not surprising at all. What is wild is that there's a paper trail. There are documents, actual documents on Clippers' letterhead, signed by executives within the organization that approve these deals. So even if the team tries to play the "we didn't know" card, that excuse is pretty much off the table at this point. And let's not forget Mark Cuban randomly inserting himself into this whole mess. The Mavericks owner has been on a media tour of his own, essentially trying to downplay the situation and cast doubt on the reporting. But in one particular podcast appearance, Cuban laid out how he would theoretically structure a payment system like this if he were doing it, which, incredibly, is almost a mirror image of what Ballmer actually did. That's the level of absurdity we're dealing with. Cuban accidentally described the exact scheme that's allegedly been happening, and the details are matching up with receipts. So now we're left with the big question: what is Adam Silver and the league office going to do about it? Because this isn't just a slap-on-the-wrist type of situation. This is not one of those "oops, we forgot to file some paperwork" kind of deals. This is a calculated, long-term scheme to funnel money to a superstar player through a fraudulent business arrangement. This is cap circumvention at a level we haven't seen since the Joe Smith debacle in Minnesota. And honestly, this might be worse. Remember, the Timberwolves were punished severely for the Joe Smith situation. Millions in fines, lost draft picks, and a serious stain on the franchise's reputation. That case involved a lesser-known player and less money. This time, it's Kawhi Leonard, a two-time Finals MVP. And the amount of money involved is staggering. Plus, it's all connected to the richest owner in the league, which makes this situation that much more high-profile. The NBA has two options here. They can either pretend this is no big deal, issue a small fine, maybe dock the Clippers a second-round pick or two, and hope it all blows over. But to do that, Silver would have to believe that NBA fans are completely clueless. Because if this evidence is even half true, there's no way the league can sweep this under the rug without looking like they're protecting one of their marquee franchises. The other option, and the one that's starting to look more and more likely, is that the hammer comes down. Maybe not franchise-altering to the level of forcing Ballmer to sell the team, but certainly enough to strip the Clippers of multiple first-round picks, potentially void Kawhi's contract, and send a message that this kind of manipulation won't be tolerated. And here's where it gets even more complicated. The Clippers already owe a treasure trove of picks to the Oklahoma City Thunder from the Paul George trade, a trade Kawhi himself demanded when he signed. So losing more picks on top of that could leave the team without a single first-round selection until 2035. That's a full decade of no homegrown talent through the draft. That's devastating for a franchise that already feels like it's running on fumes in terms of championship windows. And what about Kawhi himself? If the investigation finds that he knowingly accepted these under-the-table payments in violation of league rules, there's a very real possibility his contract gets voided. That would remove his salary from the books, but it would also mean the Clippers just lost their franchise cornerstone, one they sacrificed everything to get. It would also mean Kawhi becomes a free agent again, and with this scandal hanging over his head, you'd have to wonder how many teams would be lining up to sign him. All of this is going to hang over the Clippers like a dark cloud for the entire season, especially if the league truly waits until February to make a ruling. Every press conference, every post-game interview, every road trip, players, coaches, and execs are going to be peppered with questions about the investigation. Opposing teams will be asked about it. Media outlets will dig deeper. Podcasts will continue to churn out speculation and analysis. The longer this drags on, the more it becomes a circus, and the more pressure builds on Adam Silver to act. While all eyes are fixed on Los Angeles and the potential fallout from the Kawhi Leonard scandal, back in Boston, there's a different kind of energy brewing, one filled with cautious optimism, question marks, and a hint of anticipation as we inch closer to the start of the new NBA season. And right at the center of that conversation, as always, is Jason Tatum. Coming off off-season surgery, Tatum's recovery has become one of the main talking points among Celtics fans, and now it's starting to sound like there may be more hope than expected surrounding his timeline. According to recent reports, the Celtics front office is extremely pleased with how Tatum has responded to rehab. What's noteworthy is that he wasn't required to stay in Boston for his recovery, but despite having every reason to take it easy or work remotely in warmer climates, he's chosen to stay close to the team. Outside of a brief trip to Duke and a few stops in St. Louis for personal commitments, he's been in Massachusetts, grinding daily at the team facility with Celtics staff. That kind of dedication doesn't just happen by accident. It speaks volumes about his leadership and commitment to getting back on the court, but that doesn't necessarily mean we'll see him playing this season. The smart money still says Tatum probably won't suit up in a game this year. No one wants to rush him back, especially not for a regular season that, depending on how the team performs, might not be worth the risk. We've seen too many examples in this league where a player pushes to come back too soon and ends up re-aggravating something or compromising their future. And let's be real, Tatum isn't just a star player. He's the franchise. You don't mess with the long-term future of your franchise player just to try and snag a few extra wins in April. But let's entertain the idea for a moment. Let's say by late February or early March, the Celtics are hanging around the 4th or 5th seed. Maybe the East isn't looking as scary as usual. Joel Embiid's been battling injuries again. The Sixers are barely hanging on to a play-in spot. The Cavs are good but not great. And the Knicks are doing their usual thing where they look dangerous for 2 weeks before coming back down to earth. Suddenly the Celtics are sitting there thinking, wait a minute, if Tatum really is 100%, do we take a swing? That's the kind of scenario where things could get interesting. All it would take is a hint, a social media post of him taking jumpers, a pre-game report saying he's doing 5-on-5 drills, a vague but hopeful quote from Joe Mazzulla. The fan base would explode with speculation. And if Tatum's body responds well, if there's no pain, no setbacks, and he gets medical clearance, then you start having that internal conversation. Do we roll the dice? Even then, the approach would be ultra-conservative. You're not bringing him back to play 35 minutes a night. This would be a minutes-restricted, carefully monitored, probably off the bench kind of return just to see how he handles the pace of a real NBA game again. The Celtics have been smart about this whole process, and there's no reason to believe they'd suddenly throw caution to the wind just because the standings look favorable. But the possibility, however slim, is alive, and that's something nobody expected just a few months ago. Now, even with Tatum in question, the Celtics are not short on storylines heading into camp. One name generating a surprising amount of buzz right now is Neemias Queta. The big man has been the subject of speculation all offseason, especially as Boston looks to solidify their front court rotation. And based on how things are trending, there's a real possibility he gets serious consideration for the starting role. It's not a flashy move, and it's not the kind of headline-grabbing decision that makes fans go wild on social media, but it might end up being one of the smartest internal developments the Celtics make this year. Queta's recent play in Eurobasket turned some heads, averaging 15 points and 8 boards, showing flashes of offensive skill and a presence around the rim. But more than just the box score, it's his understanding of the game that's starting to shine through. According to advanced metrics, Queta ranked 14th in the league in screen assists per 75 possessions last season. That may not sound like a big deal, but in the NBA, those little things matter. Players like Rudy Gobert have built entire reputations on setting quality screens and creating open looks for shooters, and Queta seems to have a similar skill set developing. He's also a sneaky good offensive rebounder. Despite averaging just under 14 minutes per game last year, he still managed to pull down 1.4 offensive boards per game. Scaled up to per 36 or per 75 possessions, that number jumps to nearly 4 offensive rebounds. A very solid mark, especially for a player still learning the speed and physicality of the league. That kind of effort translates, and it's exactly the kind of hustle the Celtics need from someone filling that 5th starting spot. Where he still needs work is on the defensive glass. His defensive rebounding numbers weren't anything special, landing him in the 50th percentile among bigs. That has to improve if he's going to hold down a starter's role. But more important than just grabbing boards is his ability to defend without fouling, to rotate properly, to anchor the paint when the defense breaks down. That's the real test. Can he read the floor? Can he adapt to NBA-level pick-and-roll coverages? Can he become a low-maintenance, high-impact presence who knows exactly where to be? That's where the coaching staff comes in. Joe Mazzulla and his assistants are going to have their hands full molding Queta into a reliable option. But there's real potential here. He doesn't have to become a star. He just has to become dependable. If he gets to that point, suddenly the Celtics have one fewer hole to fill. Suddenly, Brad Stevens doesn't need to trade away future assets to find a stopgap center. Suddenly, this team looks a lot more balanced and flexible heading into the spring. There's also some intrigue about Queta's spacing. He's not a volume shooter by any means, but during Eurobasket, he showed a willingness to step out and take a few jumpers. He even knocked down a couple threes, which, while not exactly a trend yet, shows that he's tried to stretch his game. If he can hit the occasional mid-range shot or keep defenses honest from the perimeter, that only helps Boston's already stacked offense. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In what might be the most jaw-dropping rumor of the year, whispers have started circulating in both the NBA and European football circles. Celtic, the storied Scottish football club, could be making a move that no one saw coming. Kevin Durant in green and white. Yes, you read that correctly. Kevin Durant, the perennial NBA superstar and scoring machine, apparently has the basketball world buzzing with speculation that he might be swapping hardwood for grass. According to sources close to the club, discussions have allegedly taken place behind closed doors, hinting at a deal that would see Durant joining the boys in some capacity. The idea, while seemingly outlandish, has sent shockwaves across social media and sports talk shows, with fans debating how the forward-thinking Celtic front office could possibly pull this off. Some insiders suggest it might be part of an ambitious crossover initiative, aiming to blend global basketball appeal with Europe's most passionate football supporters. Others wonder if this is just another high-profile marketing stunt designed to elevate Celtics' international profile. The NBA community is predictably skeptical. DURANT, who has spent his career lighting up the league with silky jumpers and relentless efficiency, has never hinted at a desire to swap basketball shoes for cleats. Yet the sheer audacity of the rumor has captured imaginations worldwide. Imagine the sight of DURANT dribbling past defenders on a lush green pitch rather than weaving through defenders in the paint. It's the kind of headline that could sell newspapers for weeks. Meanwhile, Celtic fans are oscillating between excitement and disbelief. If this is true, it's revolutionary, one fan reportedly said, while another warned, "Let's not get ahead of ourselves. This sounds too crazy to be real." Still, the rumor mill is relentless, fueled by every cryptic social media post and whispered meeting between NBA agents and football executives. Whether this is a fleeting fantasy or the dawn of a new kind of sports crossover, one thing is certain: the world is talking. Kevin Durant in Celtic green is the kind of story that blurs the line between rumor and reality, leaving fans on the edge of their seats, waiting for confirmation or denial that could reshape the conversation around both basketball and football forever. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.